beautiful day, one-on-one. Good morning. The 12th day of the month of November, 2025. Welcome to Good Morning Kenya. My name is Victor Olo. How are you doing? Regina, have you noticed that last night, this morning, the weather has completely changed. It's insanely cold in the city.
Well, it depends if I reside in the city.
The weather changed all of a sudden, and it's so windy.
Is it?
Yes, windy, and it's so cloudy. That's how unpredictable the Nairobi weather can be. True,
I agree, because where we were yesterday at in Langata, where the president was officially launching the East Africa MSME exhibition, the 25th edition.
Yes.
Well, it was quite windy, I would accept that. But then where I was in the evening after that, it wasn't as cold or windy as it was. It was actually very warm.
Yeah.
So you may be leaving your home to come to the central business district. Accounts for 85% of the workspaces within Nairobi region, dressed for the warm weather, only to find some bit of showers on this side.
It's quite unpredictable.
So I agree, yes.
Yeah. All right, welcome to the program. So let's talk about matters education and health. Those are the two things that I want us to talk about quite deeply today on The Viewpoint, because yesterday there was a case of teachers not getting it right. The education sector is also reeling in some accusations, some of the principals, and that has also been put again to the limelight. There are so many accusations where TAC is being accused of not doing its work as mandated. And now the question is, who is going to teach integrity while learners and tutors are under siege? Let's talk about that, as well as the SHA issue. There is a case where cancer SHA payment is actually said to be running out within 6 months. And now patients are now left to reel and foot their own bill. Let's talk about that at exactly 8 after Regina. I'll have Wilson Session, who is a veteran educator and unionist. He'll be here at 7. Let's talk about education matters. And Michael Agwanda, who is the political analyst. We are getting an apology from Dr. James Nikal, who is the member of Parliament, Seme constituency. He's also the chair of the Health Committee of the National Assembly. He sent his apology that he won't make it. Okay, so the show has to continue nevertheless. Ray.
Thank you very much, Victor. It means it's just the two of us, right?
Yes. Let's do this.
Indeed. And we are going to be focusing on matters politics. I'm sure now that the opposition has come out to say that they have vowed that they will remain intact up until 2027. So it's a question of wait and see, and if time will prove their sentiments right or wrong. I'm sure that's a conversation that is going to be addressed further when we look at matters politics. And later on, after that particular panel that is going to be led by Victor in regard to that conversation that he's just mentioned, we're going to be looking at the futuristic scope when it comes to agriculture and the role that women and youth is going to play in light of emerging issues like climate change. That's a conversation we're going to be having with one of our guests from Haifa International here to just look at the inroads that have been made to foster smart agriculture and also just have an inclusive agri-sector that is backed by technology. We'll be having that conversation as soon as we are done with our panel with Victor there. And remember, we welcome your feedback. Get us on X at KBC Channel 1. My X handle is at Ray Manyara. Now, we start off with stories that have been making headlines in the last 12 hours, and that the government is coming under pressure to shed more light on allegations that some Kenyans may have been shipped abroad to fight in the ongoing war in Ukraine. 5 families whose loved ones are currently trapped in the conflict are telling Kenya Broadcasting Corporation that they believe that the state was and in fact aware that their kin were recruited and flown to Russia to fight alongside Russian soldiers. Some of the families now claim that their sons are stuck abroad, unable to find their way home. Joseph Wahungu has the details.
Gordon Omondi is desperate for answers. He has been camping at the Department of Diaspora Affairs office in Nairobi, wanting to know the fate of a relative stuck in parts unknown. He says the man was duped into joining the war in Ukraine.
akitoka Kenya kidogo alijua Kenya anaenda kufanya, because that guy had told them, he had elaborated what is there. Aliwaambia kitu ya kwanza kuna vita Russia, but now wao wa Kenya wakienda huko hawako wanaenda vita.
Similarly, families of Moses Oduk, Elijah Kimani, Samuel Kariuki and Noah Suyanka say their kin have been making desperate phone calls pleading for help to return home.
Wakati tuliongea na yeye, alikuwa ndani huko Ukraine, ndio alikuwa anafanya kazi. Walikuwa nalala mahali imechimbwa ile ya chini, bunkers. Ndio walichimba wakajenga huko chini ya ardhi. Sasa hata tuliongea na yeye kama analea, anataka rudi, vile anarudi ameshindwa, vile atarudi.
For some, communication has since gone silent, with relatives saying they have not heard from their kin for months.
Wasiwasi wangu ni venye tumesikia huko venye vita inaendelea, kasi yenye alikuwa ameambiwa anaenda sio anafanya, hatumpati na simu kama kwa mwezi.
The families accused the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of doing little to trace or rescue their loved ones, despite repeated visits to the government offices.
Communication yake iliisha, hatuyopatani na yeye, lakini aliniambia amepelekwa kwa upande wa vita kule ambako alikuwa ananiambia ni tumuombe kwa sababu sio kuzuri. Sasa ombi langu ni kwamba serikali tusaidie hawa watu warudishwe Kenya.
They also claim one of the agents who facilitated the travel was briefly arrested in Athi River and later released on bond and is allegedly still recruiting unsuspecting Kenyans. The families are now appealing directly to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Diaspora Affairs to act urgently to help bring their kin home before it is too late.
Sasa mimi mwenyewe hata huyo ndio mtoto mmoja niko naye na ndio nilikuwa namtegemea kwa kila kitu. Ndio huwa ananishughulikia.
Just to remind you, if you do not know the history of that famous song, Buffalo Soldier, well, you may just go online and just get acquainted with why that song was quite popular, because it depicted a time in history where black men and women were recruited to fight both the First and the Second World War. It's history. So we'll keep tabs on that as it develops. Now, opinion is divided on two constitutional amendment bills of 2025 before the National Assembly and Senate, seeking to attain the no more than 2/3 gender principle. The two bills seek to, among other issues, give effect to the 2/3 gender rule through the creation of special seats that will ensure the gender principle is realized in Parliament. The number of special seats is to be determined after the general elections. Here's a recap.
15 years since Kenya attained the new constitution, attainment of the 2/3 gender principle remains elusive. Bottlenecks such as retrogressive cultural beliefs and violence directed at women in political spaces continue to hinder these efforts.
There's still discrimination on women, particularly violence against women, which hinders them in offering themselves for position of leadership. And this discussion on the laws to address how to achieve 2/3 gender rule will help us to address the issue of violence against women, youth and people with disability.
Two constitutional amendment bills 2025 before the Senate and National Assembly are, however, seeking to address these bottlenecks. They seek to ensure that in the event membership of both houses does not conform to the principle, there shall be nominated additional number of special seat members to ensure not more than 2/3 are of the same gender.
We wait for the date when the election is done and we see how many women we got as members of parliament. If the numbers do not meet the threshold in the constitution of the 2/3 gender principle, we then bring in the number of women that will be required to top up and give us the 2/3 gender principle.
My fear is if we don't meet the number, we will then just nominate top up. Then there'll be no incentive for women to go to elections. The public will say, okay, you wait for your top up. We will elect the men. I think we should change the law so that we reserve the 12 nominated slots exclusively to women.
It also seeks to amend the constitution to provide for additional seats to implement the principle of at least 5% of the members in appointive and elective bodies should be persons with disabilities.
Members of parliament, both in nomination and elective positions, to be actually those members who have lived disability for longer than having people living disability for maybe a shorter period of 5 to 10 years, because they don't understand the disability and the challenges that we go through.
The two houses, since they are our representatives, us at the grassroots level, to really like to be brought now the bills to us, understand it in the language that we can comprehend. For example, our national language is Swahili. If possible, the way we did it with the finance bill, looking at the Gen Zs, even break it down to the local languages.
Well, that is bound to elicit a lot of debate at a time when Kenyans have been decrying the high cost, or rather the ballooning wage bill. Can Kenya sustain an extra or an increase in leadership, or rather government wage bill, so to speak? We are currently doing around above 300 legislators in this country. Can we take another extra to attain the gender principle? Or is it time to think totally outside the box in terms of how we elect our leaders and which preserve goes to whom? We'll wait and see which decision, the courts as well as the legislators is going to take. Now, the section of senators has called out one of their own whom they accuse of supporting the torture of Kenyans in the neighboring countries of Uganda and Tanzania. While debating a motion proposing the installation of CCTV cameras in all police stations, cells and police reporting desks, the senators led by Enoch Wambua of Kitui County said the remarks by their Nandi counterpart, Samson Cherangai, were unfortunate, coming at a time when reports indicate that almost 20 Kenyans died in police custody this year alone. Cherangai was allegedly quoted over the weekend encouraging the neighboring countries of Uganda and Tanzania to discipline Kenyans across borders and involving themselves within the politics of those countries. Now, in his defense, Cherangai accused the senators of discussing him without a substantive motion.
A member of his house, the Agas house, has called upon presidents of neighboring countries to oppress the people that we are supposed to be representing in this house. What is the speaker supposed to deal? How is the speaker supposed to deal with that member of the house?
It shocked me to levels that I cannot even imagine, that a member of this house and a lawyer, for that matter, somebody who claims to be a legal mind, would forget these fundamental provisions of the Constitution and support a situation where Kenyans are being subjected to abduction, subjected to torture, subjected to cruel and dehumanizing punishment.
Standing Order 101, Part 4, no senator shall impute improper motive to any other senator or to a member of the National Assembly except upon a specific substantive motion.
Is, did he say what he said? And were the senators within their purview to raise the motion? We continue watching the political space. Now on to graft. The Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, EACC, is investigating 32 cases linked to money laundering. Speaking on the sidelines of a regional workshop on money laundering and recovery of stolen assets, EACC Chief Executive Officer Mbadi Mohamud said they target individuals who are laundering public funds and wiring them to other countries. According to the National Taxpayers Association, Kenya loses a cool 253 billion shillings every year to illicit financial inflows. Abdiaziz reports.
Companies and individuals who are currently laundering billions of public funds and hiding them in other countries are now on the radar of the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, EACC.
We have over 32 cases that we received from the FRC. the Financial Reporting Center here in Nairobi, and where they have flagged certain individuals and agencies and companies for money laundering.
Speaking on the sidelines of the regional workshop addressing money laundering and recovery of stolen assets, the EACC CEO said they have begun talks with several countries on mutual litigation to ensure the funds are recovered, in turn remove Kenya from the grey list.
There is all the possibilities that some of the monies that is stolen from one country can end up in another country. We've had our Tanzanian counterparts once in a while coming to us. We've been going to our Ugandan counterparts. Some South Sudan colleagues have also been following a few cases of theirs. So by bringing these people together, we first of all want to create what is called informal networks.
According to the National Taxpayers Association Kenya and Oxfam, Kenya loses between 243 and 253 billion shillings every year to illicit financial flows.
Differences in our legal regime and their legal regime makes it so difficult for us to be able to recover our assets as quickly as we would have thought.
We are still not doing very, very well in the area of asset recovery, in the area of anti-corruption, in the area of money laundering, like you rightly said. But of course, Kenya has done so much better in the area of asset recovery as a region because they have this civil forfeiture, and like Mr. Abdi was talking about the asset recovery that they have just done with the previous governor.
In the same light, the continent loses $90 billion to money laundering, denying critical sectors of much-needed financial muscle to spur growth.
Consider, you asked the question, Africa loses around $90 billion every year as a continent in illicit financial flows. A country like Kenya that has, economically is one of the machines of the region, is one of the most important economical centers, loses quite a lot to illicit financial flows.
11 countries are currently participating in the 3-day conference.
The conference continues, and we'll continue keeping tabs on that particular convention. Now, persons with disabilities in Kakamega County are set to benefit from an assertive devices worth 15 million shillings. Now, Kakamega Chief Officer for Social Services, Gender and Culture, Christine Kimungui, says that the assistive devices will be distributed later in the year. These are the stories from our county news roundup.
Kakamega County has procured assistive devices worth 15 million Kenyan shillings meant to benefit persons with disability. According to the county government, the move aims to empower and improve the well-being of the group.
As you leave Kakamega, we want to assure you that we will continue supporting these groups. I'm sure the group that has benefited, majority of them will mobilize them into groups.
Elsewhere, Kirinyaga County Governor Anne Waiguru has urged politicians to stop politicizing health matters. She pledged the county's commitment to improving healthcare services across all the sub-counties.
We are presenting the state of the county address. Our agenda on health is indisputed. There have been numerous counties, over 10, who have come to Kirinyaga County to learn what we have done. Fully automating our health facilities, ensuring our hospitals are equipped, there is medicine, all that.
Meanwhile, Kenya Union of Post-Primary Education Teachers, KUPPET, has called on the Teacher Service Commission, TSC, to address the fate of 20,000 junior secondary school teachers whose contracts are ending.
Stories of no money is not part of us.
Yes.
They have worked for 1 year. You needed science teachers to come and put in energy in our JSS schools.
Yes.
And they have done that faithfully for 1 year.
Yes.
Their contract is coming to an end. Yes. And so far, they are worried because there is no communication, nothing from the Teacher Service Commission, and the only thing they are expecting is confirmation.
And residents and business community at Rironi town along Nairobi-Nakuru Highway are lamenting over the poor state of the social amenities and the infrastructure that is jeopardizing their sources of income.
Kukinyesha hapa, hata hapa kuna mtaro hauwezi pita. Biashara zimefirisika hapa, zimeisha, watu hawakuji kununua, mtaa yetu haigrow, it is not going anywhere. Ukiangalia ni soko yetu ilianza kujengwa 2019, watu wamejenga vibanda huku, hakunanga mahali pa kupita, hata saa hii kukinyesha hakunanga mahali ya kupita.
Elsewhere, residents from Manyara town in Kenya and the neighboring Beledhao town in Somalia held a cross-border peace and security forum aimed at strengthening cooperation that will prevent and counter violent extremism across the border region.
We have turned down a number of ideas together with our counterparts from Somalia, elders, youths and women from that side, and it has bettered with our findings and the knowledge that we exist in peace.
In Kwale County, the social organization Village Voices has launched mural paintings in the Mwabungo area. The initiative seeks to empower young people to use art as a tool for social change.
Tumefanya ile mural yenye tumeenda tukaonyesha pale, na ile mural inasimamia aswa kwenye kutangaza amani katika jamii ya sasa.
Finally, a youth lobby group dubbed Broad-Based Brigade Youths has called out on politicians to shun divisive politics and instead focus on uniting Kenyans as the country prepares for the 2027 general election.
We also want to promote dialogue between government, political parties, civil society, and grassroots youth networks. We also want to encourage accountability, transparency, equitable distribution of opportunities, especially for the youth and the marginalized groups. We also want to uphold peace, unity, respect for our democratic institutions.
Just to remind you that we're going to be having by-elections in the next coming few weeks, and we are on the ready to bring you that particular broadcast of the exercise. Now we cross over to business, where cooperatives Cabinet Secretary Wycliffe Oparanya says a committee of experts on SACCO reforms has proposed amendments to the SACCO Act to ease mergers and in a bid to bring more SACCOs under regulation in efforts to protect members' deposits.
Cooperative societies with a few members and a small asset base might be forced to merge if amendments proposed by the Committee of Experts on SACCO reforms are adopted. Cooperatives Cabinet Secretary Wycliffe Oparanya is rooting for the mergers, arguing that it will ensure more SACCOs are brought under the regulation of the SACCOs and Society Regulatory Authority (SASRA), and they create a bigger asset base to service members' needs.
If all Mwalimu SACCOs was one, because what happened, Mwalimu SACCO was one, and then now districts, when districts came up, each district now split to have its own SACCO. You go to Kisumu, you'll find the Siaya SACCO, they have their name, Walimu Huko, and Jina Lao.
Oparanya says smaller SACCOs are not economically viable due to their high operational costs.
The problem we have had in Kenya is that every village comes up with a SACCO, which is not even financially viable.
To help our cooperatives pool resources together and put them in banks that will give us good interest rates. No.
In a raft of reforms, agriculture-based SACCOs are set for stricter regulations to enhance efficiency.
Our agricultural sector is the big one, and that has been the major problem, because the agricultural sector issues of governance is a very big challenge, and I'm happy that this is being addressed in the new bill that is before the Parliament.
To sports now, the Kenya national soccer team Harambee Stars departed the country yesterday night for Atlantia, Turkey, where they're set to play 2 international friendly matches from Friday this week. Now, the national under-17 football team, on the other hand, will be in Ethiopia for the Sekafa Under-17 Africa Cup of Nations qualifiers this weekend.
Harambee Stars will face Equatorial Guinea on Friday at the Emaya Complex before meeting Senegal on November 18 at the Madan Stadium. Head coach Benny McCarthy says the team, which has been training at Kasarani, is in high spirits and fully focused on securing positive results in the international friendlies, which will prepare them for competitive assignments. The matches will also test their strength against top-ranked opponent, sharpen their tactics and strengthen chemistry within the team. Meanwhile, the national under-17 soccer team, the Junior Stars, will also be away on international duty this weekend. They left today for Ethiopia, where they are scheduled to take part in the CECAFA Under-17 African Cup of Nations qualifiers starting this Saturday up to the 2nd of December. Forward Nathan Achola, who earned a spot in the head coach William Muluya's final lineup, said he's ready to give his best and help the team secure qualification for the continental tournament. Junior Stars have been placed in Group B alongside Ethiopia, Somalia, Sudan and Rwanda.
It was a lot of work that was put in. Of course, we had like a week or so of training and 2 test matches. So it's just a lot of work, a lot of dedication. And making the final squad, I was so happy because it's a dream for every 17-year-old to represent their country.
We have to believe in ourselves first and try to play until the last day of the tournament. It will be an honor for us to make it to the AFCON. So whoever we are having and whichever team we have, it's upon the coaches now to try and push it more. And we are confident enough that we are going to do the job.
They will be battling for one of the 2 qualification spots available for the 2026 Under-17 African Cup of Nations.
Now that puts a cap on matters in the headlines. Be sure to peruse our website, that is www.kbc.co.ke for further details. And now just looking at our diary across Langata, that is in Langata, the Uhuru Gardens there, we have the 25th EAC MSME exhibition that is currently underway, starting off from the 10th all the way to the 16th. Yesterday, President William Ruto was the chief guest who officially launched that particular exhibition amid calls from member states to have standardized policies to ensure more intra-African trade that is currently pegged at 15%. The EAC, as a trading bloc, has been in place for several years. However, that particular trade, intra-trade, 15%, member states say that technology is bound to help this double, at least to 40 or 50% going forward. We'll keep tabs on that and find out what comes from there. And also, we are tracking the state of affairs in Marsabit County, where at least 2 million people are now at risk of hunger as drought tightens now across the country's arid and semi-arid regions. Other areas that we're tracking include Samburu and Isiolo counties. Talking about graft, the EACC convention is currently underway at the Safari Park here within Nairobi, and we will continue keeping track of that, with the outcomes yesterday indicating that at least annually 235 billion shillings is, transferred to offshore accounts as proceeds of illicit financial inflows. That is that, just to give you a sneak peek of how the diary this Wednesday morning looks like. For the rest of the programming, be sure to keep it here and give us a feedback on our various socials. Now I hand you over to Victor Lowe. We'll be back with a conversation on inclusivity when it comes to matters agriculture, focusing on women as well as youth. Over to you, Victor.